Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me today is Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor, as well as Broad Street Hockey's own Kelly Hinkle. How we doing, guys? Just like, has anyone's moods, Kelly, you weren't with us last night, but following along with your tweets, I think you were much in line with us.
You were spiritually with us.
I believe we were all pretty mad last night. Mm-hmm. How are we feeling today? It's been like, 12 hours or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's been 18 hours. It's been a while. Have our moods changed at all?
I'm definitely less viscerally angry than I was last night. I don't even know if I was angry last night. It's still more disappointment for me. And I have a lot of like competing thoughts in my head about what exactly is going on here because it's just so precipitous, the drop off, that I'm just like, I feel like they need to like scientifically analyze what's going on with this team. And there's no way to actually do it because we don't know what's actually happening besides what we see on the television. So we're just making it up. So I don't know. I don't know. That's about where I am.
No, it's like I'm disappointed in the current, the guys on the roster, the current team right now. I am disappointed in the way things are starting. In the Philadelphia Flyers as an idea, I am mad.
Okay.
Because I am just so sick of this team's bullshit. Like, I'm legitimately mad at them for falling apart like this. Like, if you want to suck, fine. I hoped you would. I wanted a top 5, top 10 pick. I expected them to suck. If you're going to do this, now you've like all the goodwill that you have built up for me all year. We're having these conversations again. And the thing, and Charlie, I think, put it best last night. Like, if you would have played that nobody believed in us card, we always knew we were a good team. And then monumentally fall off like this in the span of just a few days. Like, we're talking about 2-3 weeks. We saw this from Megan Chayka this morning, this team's playoff odds, and the way they have dropped since March 24th.
Yikes.
This is not like, it was this is like getting shot. Like, just every day they got shot again. March 24th, 88%. Today, 4. That doesn't even seem mathematically possible, and yet here is the math.
Yeah.
No, that's still like I keep trying to tell myself like it's not over.
Nah.
But get the we've been doing this way too long to believe anything is going to happen except they get killed in these next 3 games.
John Tortorella straight up said after the game, "I'm not even really thinking about the playoffs anymore. I'm thinking about us recovering our dignity."
I don't know about that.
Like that was the coach of the team. Bill, it's over.
Like, and there is an argument to be made that they always were this bad and they kind of just rode some crazy wave for a while and this is just regressing to who they were supposed to be. But absolutely not. No, 9-3 to the 6th worst team in hockey is never who they were going to be this year. 6-2 to the 4th worst team in hockey is never who they were supposed to be this year. This is a team that straight up sucks now. And I never thought I'd be saying that about, like, I thought they weren't going to win a lot of games, but I thought they were going to be very competitive the way we saw them a lot this year. This is, I mean, they're at a negative 29 goal differential right now. They finished last year at negative 55. The next 3 games are going to pull them a whole lot closer to last year. Like, what's the most optimistic? Negative 35 over these? Like, They're going to finish at minus 40. That means after all of this, you're going to finish probably in the bottom 10. You're going to finish with a negative 40 goal differential. After everything we just saw for 70 games, you're right back where you were. You're just as bad as you were last year.
Play the song.
It really is Maxine Nightingale, like right back where we started from. This year ended up being the waste of time that people who said, well, this is what happens when you don't tear it down. I am on board with those people very much.
No, I'm not. I'm not ready to give anything to those people. Those people are annoying, number one. Number two.
If you weren't able to enjoy the ride because of what you thought was going to happen, that's annoying. And I'm like, why be a fan? Like, I'm fine being mad at the end of a year if I can enjoy myself for most of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll live with that. But they're not wrong.
Do you really think that there was nothing positive to come from this season? It was all a waste of time?
Nothing that couldn't have been gained without trading Travis Konecny, without trading Scott Laughton. Like, things that could precipitously help the future.
Like, so you're talking more about front office problems than roster problems.
Like the way they went into this year with this plan. All right, I don't agree with it, but let's see how it goes. It went well for most of the year, but then to end up here, it didn't work.
So wait. So what are we saying? What is this original plan that you're saying they were sticking to? Because the original plan was not for them to be a competitive hockey team.
That is true.
Going for the playoffs.
Yeah, this was a surprise.
It was never going for the playoffs, but keeping most of the band together. They expected to be in a lot of games.
But
they wanted to play meaningful games at this time of year.
I don't think they kept most of the band. I mean, like, unless your thought process was trade away 10 people.
Travis Konecny and Scott Laughton.
Okay. They're probably going to re-sign Travis Konecny.
And that's a huge mistake.
Just saying.
I mean, at this
point... That
point...
means they don't know what they're... Like, that means he's going to be Claude Giroux. He's going to be Jake Voracek. He's going to be here for 5 more years of this. And when he's 33, we're going to be going, man, they really wasted the prime of Travis Konecny, because that's what they're on pace to do right now. Where's this top-end talent coming from?
I think...
But we've discussed this. Like, you've got Mitchkov coming, and then it just comes down to whether you trust if... this front office can make the kinds of shrewd trades or signings or unearthing players in the draft to get more high-end players. We know they need more high-end players. I guess that's probably what the underlying frustration is that if you want to have trust that this plan is going to work, you have to have faith that the front office is going to make the right moves. And I guess watching these games makes you less confident they will have the ability to make the right moves because you're watching a team falling apart.
Watching a team falling apart because the culture was supposed to be what was going. All right, maybe we're not like Mitchkov. We're going to have, and we're going to figure out how to, teach guys to be clutch. Well, that ain't working.
Well, we can have a conversation about the culture, but I do think that, like, if this exact roster had been shit for the entire season the way that they were supposed to be, everyone thought they were going to be, I'm pretty sure, including Danny Briere and Keith Jones, thought they were not going to be a good hockey team. Then are we still pissed off that they okay, so then we're not pissed off about the roster if they were shit the whole season. So the fact that they overperformed, I don't think then means that the rebuild's fucked because we should have traded these guys so that we weren't good this year. But like, if we had been bad this year, it would have been fine to keep these guys. Like, none of that makes sense.
It means that the overarching, we're keeping veteran leaders around to ensure that shit doesn't go bad the way it has in years past.
Are we talking about these two
and
guys?
Shit got even. I'm talking about an overall group of players. Like, we're not gonna just go nothing but young guys. We are not tacking. We are going to have a bunch of veterans around who are going to help keep this thing together. And when adversity occurs, we are going to be able to see our way through it and learn from that. They're doing the opposite of that. They are now giving up.
Well, so in fairness, and this is something that's worth pointing out, is that they did deal with a lot of adversity this year. And they did for basically every single bit of adversity, except for obviously this. But it's not like they shrunk at the first sign of adversity. They dealt with their goalie no longer being able to play because he got charged with sexual assault. They dealt with a weird-ass trade. They dealt with John Tortorella melting down every other week because he's John Tortorella. Like, they've dealt with adversity, and over the course of the year for 70-ish games, they handled it well. Right now, they're handling it like crap. But look, I think my frustration more than anything at the moment is that, like, it's the fact that we've seen this before. I really thought they were past it. The first 70 games of the year strongly hinted that they were past these types of meltdowns. They're dealing with it. However, I don't think, even though I understand why people think that way, think that everything was a waste of time because we're dealing with this and we're all real mad about it. Like, even just from a fan perspective, I don't think it completely erases the fact that fans got to watch 70-ish games of fun hockey.
We had fun this year.
Like, I don't think that you can just be like, well, all of that was a waste of time because it ended badly. Yeah, it ended badly. And the fact that it ended badly stunk. But I think a not insignificant portion of the fan base, probably a much larger portion of the fan base than we believe, because we deal with the crazy, angry people on social media more than anything else. I think a not insignificant portion of the fan base would take this as in 65, 70 games of competitive hockey that they could be proud of, and then 12 games of shit over 82 games of shit.
This tells me something about the players, that they are so far away. That if this is when now is when everything falls apart, when the finish line is in sight and you're just going to give up 15 goals to the Canadians and Blue Jackets, that tells me this group of guys isn't, like, they're not close. That when this team is good again, there are going to be far fewer players on the current roster on that one than we thought.
Probably. That's probably the case.
I think that would have been true anyway. Like,
Yeah.
Do you honestly think, like, absent the Carter Hart situation, because we didn't know about that in October, on October 1st, you thought this team was closer than you think they are now?
I thought in December they were a lot closer.
Right, because they were playing well.
Yeah, when I watched them play. And that changes your expectations.
Yes, and they did that, though. Like, that really did happen. So, like, they did play really well for 70. Well, not really. They played well for 70 games.
Yeah, played okay. We played fine.
They
were competitive.
They did some stuff. There were some times when it was like, oh, shit, look at them go. Like, there were some times when it was fun.
And then to fall apart now against trash teams tells me there's something wrong with this group of guys. That when the chips are down, failure is acceptable, because it always has been. For 10 fucking years, when big games occur, they lose them.
And I do agree that we are living through that. For us, it absolutely does feel like this is all just one big blob of shit.
Right.
That said, like, and Alex Appleyard made this point on Twitter this morning, and it's a fair point. They've turned this roster over a lot, even since the 2021. Like, if you're talking about guys who have been here through it all,
the three guys with letters on their sweaters.
You've got Couturier, who they can't trade because he's got a no movement clause. You have Sanheim, who they can't trade because he's got a no trade clause. Neither of them want to leave. Then you've got Laughton, who you can trade, so fair. You want to say that. Then you have Konecny, who they're going to have to make a decision on. And the stats are not loading. I believe there's one more guy who's been here for a while. Might be just those four. The internet today and yesterday was god-freaking awful. So I do not have the fifth guy. But it's basically those. And I guess Joel Farabee. Joel Farabee's here. So there you go.
Okay.
There's your fifth. So you got five guys. The rest of the roster is new. Now, unless you believe that those five guys are so infected with loserdom that they then therefore have infected the other 18 guys on the team, which I don't really believe, then they have turned the roster over. Maybe, to me, the answer and what I have learned through this is just that this serves as a glaring reminder that they are just not good enough. That they're just not good enough. This team isn't good enough, which is why they're rebuilding in the first place. Now, if you want to argue that it doesn't make sense to trade to sign Travis Konecny because by the time the team gets legitimately good, he will be in serious decline if you sign him to a 7-8 year deal. I'm open to that argument. That's a reasonable argument.
No, it's going to be a horrible contract.
If you want to argue that they should trade Scott Laughton because if you kept him for the culture and then this happened, then I don't think it necessarily means the culture is bad. I just think it probably means that the culture isn't this magical thing that will save them from their talent deficiencies.
Yes.
Like, that's my takeaway. I'm not going so far as you are as being like, this shows the culture is bad. To me, this shows that, Yeah, culture is important to a degree, but it's not magic. And what this is showing us is that teams just ain't good enough.
It wouldn't take magic to not give up 15 goals to two of the worst fucking teams in hockey.
Yeah, I mean, look, yes, this is frustrating. Yes, it's annoying that it's happening now. Yes, it makes it worse that it's happening against bad teams. Like, teams lose bad games. This happens. This happens to everybody. Everybody gets blown out.
It happens
sometimes.
to the Flyers pretty consistently.
It does. And that's why I'm so frustrated with it, because I have to deal with angry fans for a decade because they can't possibly lose in a normal way. They have to lose in the most embarrassing, infuriating way that has the entire league talking about it. Mm-hmm. I wish they could just lose normal so that this could just, like, if they would have just lost normal, if they had the entire month of March, they lose 6 out of 7 games in the gauntlet, they drop a few of these games by a 4-2 score where they give up an empty net goal and they're in the game and they just can't score. Like, yeah, people would be like, the Flyers crash back to earth. Instead, like, I'm going on the Jeff Marek show tomorrow because Jeff Marek wants to be like, what the fuck is up with the Flyers? Like it's cool to go on those shows, but like it's exhausting that every year it's something with this team. But like it's exhausting for me because I have to deal with the fans and the people nationally who are like, what the hell's wrong with the Flyers? It's not exhausting to me because like I think that there is a rot at the center of this team that needs to be ripped out from the roots. It's just like, I wish they would just lose normal so we could evaluate the team as they are, not with all this extra other bullshit.
But all this extra other bullshit always happens.
Gives you something to write constant. About, Charles.
What?
Gives you something to write about.
It's constant, and it happens at a ridiculous degree to a point that you have to think about there's got to be ways to fix it. And my frustration comes from the fact that they are executing this plan because we need to build a culture that will stop the constant barrage of, did they quit on their coach? Are they winners? Are they losers? Is the captain the problem? And it's as bad as it has ever been. Therefore, what was this all for?
Well, I mean, part of the problem is that because fans and people like us think of this last 10 years as one continuum of Flyers hockey, despite the fact that it's broken up into chunks because things were being done by different GMs, people.
Different roster,
yeah, right, exactly.
I get it.
Different friggin' ownership.
But the problem is, because it's being thought of as one giant chunk, as soon as the team starts to play bad, because the quitting thing is something that we have made up in our minds. Like, there's no proof that any of us have, unless Charlie's talked to somebody, there's no proof that any of us have that anyone has quit. They could just look like shit. Yeah. They could be trying really hard and they're just failing miserably.
I will say until last night, I didn't think the team quit. They were just falling apart.
But the fans and national media, because it's easy, immediately go to, well, they quit on a coach before, and people always quit on John Tortorella. So obviously they've quit on the coach, and now all of a sudden it's this big dramatic thing that it might not be.
If I had the reputation of being a quitter, I would do everything in my power to ensure that I erase that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And the Flyers, whether it's fair or not, man, I know we don't want to go back this far, but like Sean Couturier was on the team that fired Peter Laviolette after 3 fucking games.
So we thought it was Claude Giroux. It's actually Sean Couturier.
I'm just
the problem.
I think it's just a group of guys who we talk about. I know a lot of people hate the cross-sport references, but like one of the reasons people believe the Sixers are unable to get past a certain level of success is because they were allowed for so long to accept losing. And I just feel like whatever that mentality is, something similar has set in with this Flyers team. And yes, they've rolled over the roster. There are still a lot of people here who've been here for 8+ years.
Well,
5-6 years.
4 really, because Farabee got here in 2019.
And the entire front office is different.
The front office isn't in the locker room.
No, they're not.
I am talking about Sean
Couturier. They were last night, apparently.
Yeah, well,
evidently.
As they should be.
I would fucking love to know what Dan Hilferty said to those guys. I would just love to know.
Like Sean Couturier, Scott Laughton, Travis Konecny, and Travis Sanheim have all been here a considerable amount of time. And no one's, nothing's changed. Things are exactly the way they were the entire time.
To me, this is why, and this was the article I wrote after last night's game. I stayed up and wrote a column because what the hell else was I going to do? This is why I actually do think the final 3 games are important. Because to me, like, no, they're not going to make the playoffs. Even if by some miracle they turn this around and win the final 3, they would need so much help from other teams. They're not making the playoffs. But I think it says something about this group if the next 180 minutes are them losing 8-0 and them losing 6-1 and them losing 5-0.
That's quitting.
Like that is, we just want to go home for the summer.
Yep.
I think, like, okay, you know what? The Columbus game, bad game. Last night, an embarrassment. You then need to, and I don't even need them to win. They could lose all 3 of the next 3 games and finish the season
Hopefully
with 11 losses, whatever. But you know what I need? I need them to have some fight. I need them to, to play with the Rangers. You don't have to beat them. Whatever. The Rangers are a better team than you. Everybody knows that. Everybody's known it all year. But I can't watch for the next 180 minutes them just pack it the fuck in, because that, like, now you dealt with the Montreal game where, for the first 28 minutes of that game, with the exception of the very first minute, you played hard, nothing was going your way, and maybe that was just the breaking point where it's like, well, God friggin' damn it, like we're doing everything right, we're out shooting them, we're out chancing them, we can't friggin' score, then we make one mistake, it's in the back of our net, and we just were like, fuck this shit. You know what? Fine. I can, it's not ideal. I can live with it. But if then that turns into the next 3 games of that being 180 minutes of them basically just being like, well, I'm on my phone in between periods looking at where I'm going to vacation at the end of April, like, that's unacceptable. And that speaks to not just a culture that isn't actively helping, but a culture that's hurting. So that's why I think the next 3 games are actually pretty important, not in the sense of they need to win them. Oh my God, they need to get back in the playoff race. That's over. They're toast. But they need to show that they have some fight. I really think they do.
We do have a super chat. Let's get to that before the first ad read. From Vincent Singh says... VNet. Oh, yeah, I cannot see that.
Love the show, fam, but exhausted by the Flyers. Don't we need to figure out the why for the last 3 weeks collapse before we try to fix it? Well, yeah, I mean, that's the goal of people like Danny Briere and Keith Jones.
And there is so much. I know we've harped on this. You can't put it all on one thing. So much of it just is the goaltending.
Yep.
And I don't want to overlook how bad the goaltending has been. But I saw a tweet today that was like, Flyers last couple of weeks, they're shooting 6% and they have a .790 save percentage.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, you always lose with that. There's no way to win that way.
Here's the only argument I'll say against that, because I am of the belief, and I very much articulated this on Saturday, that I think the goaltending is the biggest reason for this. Mm-hmm. That said, I do not think the goaltending was the reason for last night. Last night was not goaltending. Last night was breakdowns, and last night was guys running around like chickens with their heads cut off. I broke down the first 5 goals on Twitter today. Like, what do you have? You have 2 goals that are deflections by a guy right in the crease. Like, hey, maybe cover that dude. I don't know.
Would be nice.
Just a thought. Then you have one that's a slam dunk goal where a guy gets left wide open because Jamie Drysdale forgot he's playing zone defense. Then you've got a breakaway goal, which again, I don't think I articulated how difficult it is to do this. They score a breakaway goal on a neutral zone regroup. That's the equivalent of giving up a Hail Mary through the middle of the field in football when the team is playing a cover 2. You have to, your 2 safeties have to be so freaking slow not to be able to come in and crash the middle and prevent that guy from having a breakaway. That is a ridiculous breakdown. And then the 5th goal, it's because Nick Seeler trips a guy, so he slide tackles into Sam Ersson to crash the puck into the net. I guess Tortorella, they couldn't even challenge it because they knew that Seeler was the one who caused it. These aren't goalie problems. This is a team-wide collapse. So, yes, the goaltending has been the biggest problem throughout this collapse. Last night, though, that wasn't goaltending. That was a team-wide choke.
And it was funny. I got to get to this ad, but we both, at the same time last night, kind of looked at each other, and then we tweeted it. Erson's been all right tonight.
He's been fine.
Funny. And then a barrage of goals went in immediately.
And then of course I get the people. You jinxed them. Nah, jinxes aren't real. Deal with
have stats. You
Jinxes
watch
are
this
real.
team. Oh, yeah, it was me tonight that did it. What about the last 6 weeks? Anyway.
If I
Somebody
had
else.
the power to jinx other teams, all of my teams would win championships because I would
can't
just
control the power,
constantly tweet out like about the Cowboys
not how it works.
or about the fucking I don't know
If
whatever
I had-
about the Chiefs. Like, Patrick Mahomes is playing a great game. Well, what do you know? He threw 3 interceptions. No, jinxes don't
That's not-
exist. I don't have that much power. I'm a random dude on Twitter.
if I had-
Stop tweeting at me about that shit.
If I had that kind of power, like, do you think I'd have more than like one playoff series win in the last 12
You
years?
guys are talking about being witches. You're not talking about jinxing things. That's different.
All right.
Jinxes don't work that way. You can't control them.
They don't exist.
Let me tell you something about our friends at GameTime. There's a few games left in this season. Maybe you want to get down to the Wells Fargo Center, check it out up close. See for yourself if this team has quit or not.
The lights
Or
look
maybe
nice.
you're over it and you're like, you know what? Nah, it's baseball season. Well, then you're in luck because GameTime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. And I've told you all year, GameTime is the place for last-minute ticket deals. And that's not all. You have the all-in pricing. See what you're going to pay well before you hit that final button. You get the views from your seat. Came in huge for us at the Stadium Series. And the lowest price guarantee. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. First up with the last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the flash deals, you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. For a limited time, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the GameTime app with code FIRSTPITCH. Terms apply. That's FIRSTPITCH for $20 off up until April 14th. So you still have some time to take advantage of this. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And of course, maybe you're not a baseball guy. Use that PHLY code. Get $20 off your first purchase anytime at GameTime. All right. So now, we're gonna go back to looking at the standings as we have the last few weeks.
Do we need
But
to?
unfortunately, we are no longer looking at the playoff race. We are now looking
the
at the
other
draft
way.
lottery.
All right, let's go.
The Flyers are 12th from the bottom right now.
Let's go,
And
boys.
you look at the teams right around them. Minnesota is right above them. I think they have one game in hand, same number of points. So the Flyers are behind them.
Of course, they've still played
Yeah.
more
I was
games
going
than
to say,
everybody.
how have the Flyers still played more
Yeah,
games
like-
than every team on this list?
It's truly incredible. Now, with knowing that regulation wins are the first tiebreaker, we're looking at the Flyers here at 83 points with 36 wins, 28 in regulation, 3 games left. Then you have Seattle 4 points back. They have 33 wins, 27 in regulation with 5 games left. So you're thinking, it's a good chance. Good chance Seattle passes them. Then there's New Jersey.
They play New Jersey.
They play New Jersey. They have 3 games left. One of them is against the Flyers.
Scheduled
pivotal
L,
game.
baby.
79 points with 37 wins, 32 in regulation. So they have the tiebreaker to finish ahead of the Flyers. And then Buffalo also has the tiebreaker, 79 points, 31 regulation wins, 3 games left.
All right.
The Flyers could realistically,
They could do it.
and granted, this is a lottery, but they could fall in position to be drafting 9th and then have the 9th best lottery odds, basically.
Yeah.
They could fall to 9th worst. I know this sucks. They might end up almost exactly where we thought they would at the beginning of the year.
Isn't that funny?
Oh yeah, well, we're drafting 8th or 9th, and yeah, that's it.
There it is.
I thought
After all of this,
I thought they were going to be more in the 5 to 8 range. I feel like that was sort of my thought. With the potential where if some shit went wrong, for example, if Carter Hart missed the entire year, or if a couple if Sean Couturier wasn't was bad the entire year or just couldn't play, then I was like, well, in those scenarios they could be 2nd or 3rd. But I figured 5th to 8th was probably the most likely. And they're going to end up a little bit above that, it looks like, unless they bounce back big in the next 3.
I thought bottom 5 was Yeah, like, all right, Coots either came back and stunk or came back for a week and it's like, yeah, no,
like
something like that. And like, like goaltending falls apart, whatever. They trade more guys than they ended up doing. Like all those things could end up being bottom 5. But yeah, I thought that's 7-8 rate. Basically where they were last year at 7 is kind of what I expected. But to be a little bit more competitive, well, they could get some lottery luck and end up at like, I mean, I know.
What are you so mad about?
The way it's happened, Kelly. That's what I'm mad about.
In fairness, and we're going to do a lot of draft coverage this summer, to be sure, because we're going to have a longer than expected offseason. But the way this draft does set up, the drop-off is actually like, they might be pretty well positioned because it's about like the first like 12 to 13 guys, and then there's a big tier drop-off. So if they end up 11th, they're going to get a guy who potentially could be an impact guy. And I did not think they were going to, let me put it this way. If they made the playoffs and got in the first round and lost, which is I think what we all expected, and they ended up with something in like the 16 to 20 range, something like that, I would not be terribly confident they would have a chance of getting an impact guy. If they pick 11th or 12th, yeah, I think there are guys that could slip there that could end up being like not on the level of Michkov, because I think Michkov is like the jewel of this whole thing, but they could potentially be guys who are that next tier down, which they're going to need, like star level guys, not superstars, but stars,
could make an all-star game.
But stars. They could get that guy at 11 or 12. So as frustrating as it is, I guess that is a silver lining.
Also, this kind of draft where the top end isn't like super duper sexy like it was last year is precisely the draft that the Flyers win the lottery for. Like this is the year you get the 3rd overall pick, and not the year when you're getting.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they were to luck into the 1st overall pick, Celebrini,
I don't think they can.
He's going to be real good.
I don't think
if they move up a little bit more.
You can only move
Not
up
from 12.
10 spots.
Yeah,
is that what it is?
I believe.
Yeah, we were talking about that before the show.
So if they end up at right.
But if they lose a few more spots,
I guess they could get lucky.
They could fall to 9.
Actually, I think he's.
I think he's going to be really good, but I think after that, it's just going to be Nico Hischiers and stuff.
Which I mean,
don't get me wrong. I'll take one of those. I'm not saying I wouldn't take it.
You need a Nico Hischier.
But I'm just saying, like, it's not Connor Bedard. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not anyone's going to.
I mean, Celebrini isn't Connor Bedard.
Listen.
That's what I'm saying.
They always, though, this draft is the 2017, man.
Don't talk to me about it anymore.
I'm just saying, take us out of it. And like you look back to 2017 and go, oh, well, you know, pretty good 2 Cs at 1 and 2. And then you really don't know 3 fucking superstars, like including like maybe the best defenseman in the last 30 years. Like,
I don't know. Everyone's
a dude who I wanted to give $13 million to a couple weeks ago. Like, you never know. You just absolutely never know. Before we do the Coors Light, what's this super chat say?
Got the best of both worlds, nearly a full season of fun hockey and a shot of the lottery. I mean, that is the positive way to look at it.
It is. And that's after this, I want to say, like, how should we look at this thing? But first, listen, this team, they got no chill. It is just a constant barrage of the opposite of chill. And that's why sometimes we ourselves need to take a step back from being so fired up and chill. And there's no better way to chill than with an ice cold Coors Light. So whether you're freaking out about injuries, the draft lottery, the team quitting, whatever it might be, you need to find the Blue Mountains in your fridge and enjoy a beer as cold as the Rockies. Because when everything surrounding your favorite hockey team is on fire, like maybe they just gave up 9 goals to Montreal, you know? Sometimes you just gotta chill. When you choose to rise above it all, choose chill, choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. So right now, like we're all feeling the way we're feeling because we're in the middle of it. Like it's happening. They've lost 8 in a row. They're probably going to lose 11 in a row to end the season. But after game 82, how should we look back on this? Like, what is the way we should look back on this? Like, all right, we saw a team take some strides throughout most of the year. They played competitive against some of the best teams in hockey. They had a bunch of wins against the best teams in hockey. Mm-hmm. And then they ran out of gas at the end. Like, is it really like, I don't want to put all the meaning in the world into these last 3 games.
I think it'll be.
But the way you broke it down, like, man, if they're competitive in these last 3, that changes my feeling about the entire year. And if they get blown the fuck out again, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, if this is just
it's
torture,
like, oh, okay, it's over.
Yeah, if this is
Like,
just
this
torture
failed.
for the next 180 minutes, like that will impact my view of the season. I do think in a few weeks it will be significantly easier to look back at this.
Yes.
And not like you can't completely remove this end stretch. But what you can do is you can look at the season as a whole. Like, perfect example. When I will do my, summer reviews of each individual player, one of the players I will review will be Joel Farabee. And I will look at Joel Farabee's full season stats. Now, those full season stats very much include the final 2 months when he played like crap. But they also will include the first 4 months when he played quite well. And then I will look at those numbers and be like, okay, what does this tell me about what his potential ceiling will be? Right now, it's real hard to do that because we're in the shit. We're in the thick of it. In a few weeks, it will be significantly easier to look at the 82 games as a whole. And there are some things we can take away from the 82 games as a whole that are undeniably awful. For example, the power play. There was not a point in the season where the power play was good, even when they were winning games.
It's like a 2-game stretch, man.
But we will also be able to look at things like their 5-on-5 play and say, you know what? Even though the final 3 weeks of the year, they were having breakdowns and they were tired and the goalies couldn't stop a puck, on the whole, they were still a top 10 team in terms of scoring chance differential. And given the talent they have on the roster, that's pretty good. Right now, it's not worth talking about because you know what? You're in the shit and we're watching awful hockey at the worst possible time. So we have every right to be like, this is a disgrace. But in 2 or 3 weeks, I do think it will be significantly easier to talk about the positives because there are positives. Let's just not talk about them now.
And also,
Flyers don't deserve
Tyson Forster's
the Flyers
real
don't
good.
deserve
No, not
for
right now,
us
they
to be
don't.
talking about the positives right
I like
now.
Tyson Forster.
He's good.
I'm not mad at him.
Okay, so here's the thing. We also have to keep in focus the fact that we are now, for the first time in a very long time, dealing with a front office that appears to have an actual concrete plan about actually rebuilding this hockey team. We don't know yet if it's going to work. We have no way of knowing that. Nope. We don't know if they're good ideas or bad ideas. But if in 2 years, we're looking at a team that is a playoff contender legit, and let's say Tyson Forster is one of the main drivers of the team's success because he's moved along so much. Are we really going to look back at this season and be pissy about it? Probably not. We have to remember that this is part of a bigger picture.
Oh yeah,
this
definitely.
Is not no one put this roster together to win anything.
No.
So maybe we all just need to chill out. It's annoying because they overachieved, and for so much of this season, the playoffs were right there. And it's the way that it's happening is what's annoying.
It's the rolling over and dying.
Yeah.
That's what's
and against the teams that it's happened against.
Yes.
Right. But I do just kind of think that the idea that this whole season is a bust, it just, I don't know. It's too of a black and white conclusion to come to, in my opinion.
We did talk about this. This is when you were at WrestleMania. This was a Saturday night conversation. But me, Kelly, and JP did talk about this, about the true talent level of the team. And the point I made is that and I made the same point on What Chaos. I was on What Chaos today, which is our all-city national hockey show with DJ B and MP Blackburn. Check that out.
It's really good.
But the point I made was that the Flyers as they stand right now, and by right now, I don't mean the 2023-2024 Flyers. I mean today. The Flyers
on April 2024.
On April 10th. This is a true talent bad hockey team. And here is my explanation as to why they are a true talent bad hockey team. They don't have Sean Walker. They have whatever the hell is left of Sean Couturier. They have Cam York and Travis Sanheim run out of gas. They have Sam Ersson probably playing at about 70% of what he was 2 months ago. They have Travis Konecny probably playing through injury. This Flyers team sucks. This team is probably, from a true talent standpoint, if you're taking into account fatigue and you're taking into account the fact that they only got good Sean Couturier for the first half of the year and now he's not good. This team this probably is a true talent bottom 5 team in the league. So maybe it's not that embarrassing that they're losing to other bottom 5 teams when true talent, where they are right now, is also a bottom 5 team. It sucks because they still found ways to do it against the good teams a few weeks ago. Now they're doing it against the bad teams, but maybe they just crossed the threshold. Like, somebody made this point to me on Twitter, and it was a completely fair point that, like, maybe this team in a lot of ways kind of, and goaltending is another big part of it. Maybe this team in a lot of ways, the way it's constructed, does kind of live or die with Sean Couturier. When Sean Couturier was playing like a top 6 center, this was a playoff team. When Sean Couturier was playing like a bottom 6 center who couldn't score any points at all, they played like crap. Is it that simple? No, but it's probably a better explanation than we think it is. They don't have a top 6 center. Their top 6 center is Morgan Frost.
Yeah, who
only plays half a year.
Who got scratched 10 times by January 6th. That's basically how it's gone for this. He's their best center. The coach didn't believe in him for the first half of the year. And their other best center is nowhere close to that anymore.
But I do think that this team on April 10th is a true talent bad hockey team. But I don't think the 2023-2024 Philadelphia Flyers were a true talent bad hockey team, because at other points in the year, they were a true talent better team because they had a Sam Ersson who wasn't gassed. They had Selke contender Sean Couturier. They had the Walker-Sealer pairing. They had York and Sanheim playing without having gotten 30 minutes a night for a month dumped on their plate. That team was pretty good. Not great, but pretty good.
It's fine.
This team sucks.
Yes. All right. You know what doesn't suck? It's FOCO, baby.
Wow.
FOCO has the absolute best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. Whether you're looking for hoodies, jackets, beachwear, even overalls, there's something for fans for almost every occasion. And if you're in the market for some accessories, toys, or collectibles for your man cave, she shed, or podcast set, you've got to use FOCO for all your team gear needs. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in the description of this show. And for all non-presale items, use promo code PHLY10. That's promo code PHLY10 for 10% off at FOCO today. All right, let's get to some mailbag questions. I don't know how many of these we're going to get to today, but there's a Tortorella discussion in here. There's goalie stuff in here. So we're going to start with some questions on the goalies. Let's go with Clarky to lead it off. It says, after this, are you confident going with Fedotov, Ersson as a tandem next season? Or do you bring in a vet like a Martin Jones? I would.
Okay.
The example is very funny.
I would consider bringing in a vet. I would not bring in fucking Martin Jones.
Martin Jones?
The example is very funny.
Do people not remember?
We watched him play. He's not good.
We've seen that show.
The example is very funny.
I'll say.
But he did have, compared to what he was for us, a considerably more successful season.
He did a little Peter Mrazek up there.
He had a little, he had a little run there this year.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing I forgot about why this team on April 10th is true talent significantly worse than first half team. Because that first half team had Carter Hart.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
It's considerably different.
Yes.
But it's very cool that Fedotov is here. And maybe he has an NHL future. He's also going to play next year at 28. They have to go Ersson and a veteran, right?
Why? Do you want, are we trying to win hockey games?
Yes,
I thought we were tagging again.
High five.
What are we doing here? Are we trying to field a competitive team, or are we trying to facilitate a rebuild? Because bringing in a vet tells me that you want to win a lot of hockey games.
Kelly has an extremely good point.
I'm not a veteran.
I got one.
No, a veteran doesn't necessarily win you a ton of hockey games. I think it's very hard to evaluate anybody when you're getting an 850 save percentage.
For sure.
It's impossible to say who's doing well and who isn't when every other shot goes in.
I agree with that, but I don't think we will be getting an 850 save percentage from Sam Ersson if he is not completely
What about
cooked.
the other half of the games?
Well, you're hoping Fedotov is good.
I'm willing to give him a summer with the goalie coach and to figure out how he doesn't have to look at the crease to know where his feet are. Dude is not really ready to be a full-time NHL goaltender. He's figuring it out. And I'm willing to give him the summer with professionals to try and hone his game. we've seen flashes. Like, there seems to be some actual talent there. Like, do we really think he wouldn't be better than Martin Jones? Like, theoretically, he could be better than Marty Jones.
If Fedotov comes in and beats out a veteran and you're overpaying a veteran to play in the NHL and he has to go through waivers, I can live with that. Like, but I can't have a season be pointless because the goalie lets in every shot. And we have no idea if Fedotov's good. He might be fucking horrible. He might be worse than Rob Zepp. That is very much on the table.
Yeah, but Bill, like a week and a half ago, you were excited and you wanted him to play.
I think it's awesome that he's here, and I wanted to evaluate him, give him a shot.
Yeah, but that's my point. The whole reason why I was like, let's not throw this guy to the wolves is because this is an evaluation. We are gaining no useful information about Ivan Fedotov by watching him in these games. He's not ready. He never was ready. We got one fun 2 periods of good hockey because he was probably hopped up on so much friggin' adrenaline because he made it through 2 years of hell and 1 year on a fucking aircraft carrier and was finally getting to play in the NHL. We got that. Now we've got a guy who's not ready. They think he can be ready for next season. I think that's the whole point of this. They plan to re-sign him. My viewpoint is this.
They should re-sign him, definitely.
My viewpoint is this. I am fine with Ersin Fedotov because if the positive is you find out one of those 2 guys, and then you have Kolosov, who's also here, he's in the mix too.
Yeah.
You could call him up if one of those guys sticks. You have 3 guys who could potentially be your long-term goalie option. Fedotov probably a little bit less likely because he's older. But hey, if you get 3-4 good years out of him, that's great. I'm cool with that. Point is that I don't really think you add a vet because you've got 3 guys who can be part of the future. If one of them stands out and seizes it and you're like, hey, he's our guy, great. If none of them do, well, guess what? We've been talking, as Kelly said, about the need for high-end talent. You know what the easiest way to get high-end talent is to bottom out. And you know what the easiest way to bottom out is? To have shit goaltending as we're seeing right now. So to me, it's a win-win. Either you figure out one of these 3 guys is your guy, or you realize none of them are your guy and you pick in the top 5 next year.
I think there's a good chance. I thought all along, like, this thing wasn't going to be linear. Like, just because they're good this year doesn't mean they're going to be good next year.
You thought there was a chance that they could drop off.
I always thought they were going to be worse next year because they're going to move a couple more. Like, Scott Laughton ain't going to be here. I would be very, very surprised if he's back. I just think there's a couple mid-level guys who might get replaced by younger players who aren't there yet, but eventually could be better. Yeah. And that will lead to especially some early season losses. I just think a veteran goaltender allows you to evaluate everyone else.
I understand.
Like, you need to get some stops.
I get your argument. I guess what I'm saying is that I am more confident that I am more confident that Sam Ersson can provide that because I still, regardless of this collapse, I still am confident in Sam Ersson if he's not run into the ground exhausted.
That's the thing. That's what we've learned more than anything else is that he can't be a 70-start guy.
At least not yet.
Yeah, and I'm fine with him in a tandem. I think for half the games, you would get at least league average, if not better, goaltending. I'm fine with him. It's the other guy. I wouldn't mind carrying 3 goalies. Look at these fucking lineups. Who cares about, like, we need to carry Cam Atkinson and Nick Deslauriers. No, we don't.
They carried 3 goalies for the first month and a half this year, and that guy stunk.
That's a different story.
3 goalies never played. Like, just play them sometimes.
That makes sense.
Like,
no, you're talking
I wouldn't have a problem carrying 3 goalies next year if the
I wouldn't hate that.
If it's Cam Atkinson's on the roster. No, he's not.
Yeah.
Buy him out. See you, guy.
Yeah, you gotta go.
I'd rather that. It just
Bill, you've came all the way back around from crazy to genius.
No, I think carrying 3 goalies makes sense.
It's a fine line.
Ersson,
it's a fine line. You're a habitual line stepper.
Ersson might be a tandem guy. He might be a backup. He's shown flashes of at least 1B-ish kind of this year. I want to see more of him.
Yeah, I do too.
Fedotov is a complete unknown. I don't want to write him off.
No.
But I also don't want him starting half the games because there's a high potential that half the games are pointless.
And I guess to me, my backup plan if Fedotov just stinks is Kolosov. Because he is coming from the KHL. He's their top goalie prospect.
I would love to see Kolosov. That would be a ton of fun. I wonder if they want him to get a full year in the AHL and if that's what's best for him.
Maybe. Could be.
I want contingency plans.
I'm here on the 3 goalies idea. You got me with that one. I'm there.
Let's go to the next question now from Joe Hampson.
Joe Handsome?
Joe, yeah.
Maybe.
Old handsome Joey.
Friend of the pod, Joe Handsome.
Airson tiring at the end of the season reminds me of Bob Rovsky's rookie season. Airson didn't have as good of a rookie season as Bob, but the Flyers wouldn't repeat history and discard Airson after the season, would they? Yeah, that's a thing no one's advocating. Like, I'm not saying
I don't think
go get a fucking $50 million goaltender,
chance,
especially one that stinks. But like,
R.I.P. Ed, but he ain't here anymore.
No.
like that makes no sense. When I say a veteran, I very much mean a like Jake Allen at best.
Right.
Like
an Anthony Stolarz.
Yeah, a tandem goalie tops. Someone who can just steady the ship and let's actually see if Ronnie Atherton and Adam Ginning can play. And it's like, well, they're -8 in 2 games because the goalie doesn't know where the crease is.
It's a reasonable argument.
But no one, I think.
No, I do not think the Flyers as well.
That's not the
I think they're high on Airson still. I think they know they put him in an impossible spot. His end of season numbers are going to look like utter garbage. And they know that that's not his fault. If anything, it's on them, not on him. And I think they are excited to see what Sam Airson can do in a 1A or 1B or whatever role when he's not getting absolutely obliterated from a workload standpoint. I think they're excited about Airson. I know John Tortorella loves the guy. I think Danny Briere really likes the guy. They love his attitude. They like his talent. I do not, Joe Handsome, I do not think you have to worry about them giving up on Sam Airson. I think they very much like him.
That said, it's the Flyers. Anything could happen. But no, I don't think like anything ridiculous in terms of the goaltending is in the cards unless like, yo, Zavragin's here. Like, and even then, like he's 19, whatever he is. Like, I don't think that's happening either. So we'll see though. From 8 Kimchi Killa 8.
We kind of answered this
one. How long do they want Kolosov to be in the AHL? More than a year? Are we realistically thinking of running the Airson?
We just talked about this.
So can he acclimate to the differences?
Look,
great question.
I think their general
That might be the biggest question of the offseason, like how they handle the goaltender.
No, that and if they fire Rocky Thompson. But anyway.
That's coming up.
No, look, I think their view, generally speaking, is ideally they would love to give guys a full year in the AHL to acclimate and whatnot, particularly guys coming over from another country. In an ideal world, they would like to do that. However, I also think that if Kolosov is doing quite well down in the minors, they are not going to just keep him down there just because they are dead set on having him spend a full year. No, if he plays well, he'll get a shot, I think.
Absolutely. Unless the Airson-Fedotov tandem is passable. Would they be like, well, you're just kind of blocked. We're going to leave you down here a year. Or do you think they would push him over some, like, even though those guys are playing well, it's like, well, we think his ceiling's higher, so we're going to bring him up.
No. I think the answer to that is goalies always get hurt. Like, it's very unlikely that both Airson and Fedotov, if they prove to be the tandem, that both of them will stay healthy all year. There will presumably be an opportunity for someone like Kolosov, if he's playing well, to get some games just because someone goes down for a couple weeks. Yeah. That's how I think they would integrate him in. If the tandem at the NHL level is working well, they'll just figure, well, if he's playing well enough, he'll get a couple games when inevitably somebody gets hurt, because it always happens.
All right, let's go to some of the coaching questions, some of the bigger picture things. This first one I think is very interesting from Z-Pack Heat. How do you move forward keeping Couturier and Torts?
One of them seems immovable to me.
They repaired the Sanheim relationship, at least as much as it could be. Yeah. There were also some, hey, I can't coach this fucking guy situations last offseason with Kevin Hayes, Ivan Provorov, Tony DeAngelo. They were like, see ya, bro. I didn't think that this was going to be like a hanging offense. I thought this was just going to be, this is Torts. Coots ain't happy about it. They're both old. They'll get over it, you know? We talked about this last night. At the morning skate yesterday, when they asked if Couturier, are you good to go? Are you healthy? He goes, yeah, I feel as good as I felt in a little bit. I'm ready to go. We'll see what the lineup is, though. Yeah,
when I heard you say that, I was like, oh.
That tells me there's something here. Yeah. And whether that something here is a big deal and maybe that's why they suck, right? Like, I don't know. There's no way for anyone to know that but the dudes in the locker room. This might be a bigger problem than we thought a couple weeks ago.
It's so friggin' weird because He named him captain, and then just immediately their entire relationship seemed to tank. I just, it's so weird. I don't understand what happened. But I don't know. I mean, like, there were a couple of articles today from various media outlets about the idea of Torts moving upstairs as next year. Like, maybe it's time already. I honestly don't think that's going to be anyone's choice but John Tortorella's. Like, I feel like Danny is going to let him coach as long as he wants to.
I'm fascinated to see how that plays out because, I mean, I read last night, Kevin Kurz of The Athletic writes an article basically saying maybe they should kick Torts upstairs. When someone writes an article like that, an opinion column, especially about a coach that you are covering, the first thing that pops in my head is, does Kevin have inside information this is going to happen? And he is writing an opinion column that is functionally a prediction of what he thinks is going to happen. However, what I've heard today and what I've seen, Darren Dreger tweets that out. It seems like no. I mean, Keith Jones did an interview with Mike Sealski basically saying that this isn't on Torts and more or less endorsed him. It's looking more and more like Kevin's column, and I'm not criticizing for this because he's a columnist, he's a writer, he has every right for his opinion, but it's looking more and more like that was just his opinion. That wasn't a, like, I've heard from someone in the organization that Torts is going to get kicked upstairs, so I'm going to write a column so I can get out in front of this. It does seem like that is just his opinion, and fair opinion. I think it's reasonable if you believe that John Tortorella has lost the room, reasonable to say maybe he shouldn't be the coach anymore, but it does seem like the Flyers don't want John Tortorella to move upstairs. And if he does, it's going to be because John Tortorella decided he wanted to move upstairs.
Now, this is something, before I decided to do the mailbag, this is a question I wanted to ask you guys about John Tortorella. If maybe the room isn't lost, but they're just like, bro, it's been a long year. Can you just leave us the fuck alone for like these last 3 games? I don't know if you can do it for these last 3 games, especially like right now. Well, they're still like technically in it. But last year at the end of the season, we saw John Tortorella make his way upstairs and he let his assistants coach. Do you think maybe just everyone needs a little break from each other? Like, let's all go to our alone. Let's get some alone time. We're just in a fight right now. Yeah. The best thing for everyone is a weekend apart. You know, like,
could be.
Do you think that's a good idea? And do you think it's even a possibility?
So, no, I don't think he would do it because I think it would just, like, as much as he says he doesn't read articles,
it would fuel
fuel that speculation to a ridiculous degree that he's going to join the front office if he does it now. Last year, I think everybody pretty much knew, like, he wasn't going to go upstairs at the end of the first year of a 4-year head coaching contract. Now, with the way the season's ended, I think he knows he kind of can't get away with it. Who knows? It's Torts. He does whatever the hell he wants. But going back to the Couturier thing, here's my view of the Couturier thing. I think John Tortorella, in his own weird way, still has a lot of respect for Sean Couturier. Yeah. I think he views Coots highly. I think Sean Couturier is frustrated with John Tortorella. And I think that a lot of guys in that room are frustrated for Couturier on his behalf at John Tortorella. I think that is real. However, I've covered Sean Couturier for a really long time. I wouldn't say we're friends, but like we have a strong professional relationship. I think I have a pretty good read on him as a person. I think he is a very mature person who would absolutely be willing to bury the hatchet and move past this for the good of the team.
Seems that way.
I think this is a situation where they're going to have to hash it out in the summer. That because John Tortorella's made it very clear this is his thing. He doesn't do exit interviews at the very end of the season. Mm-hmm. And I honestly think the reason why he doesn't do it is because there's just there's too much emotion. And he knows that that's going to get in the way of what can be positive conversations. But I think at the end of April, beginning of May, something like that, the two of them need to have a few serious conversations and work this shit out. And I believe that because Couturier is mature enough to get past it, I think he is, and because I think Torts still has a lot of respect for Couturier, I do think they can get past this. I do not think this relationship is unsalvageable. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. Maybe Sean Couturier is just done with this guy. I don't know. Maybe John Tortorella does have in his head that everybody tells me great things about this Coots guy, but man, he is just incorrigible and I can't deal with him. Maybe. I don't think this situation is unsalvageable. I think Tortorella showed last year with the Sanheim situation that he can salvage situations that we worried were unsalvageable. That said, the two guys are still going to have to do it because I think it's abundantly clear there is still tension here, and I think it's mostly on the side of Coots.
Do you think that John Tortorella could learn something from this last couple of weeks? Because I think it's pretty clear that whatever buttons he's been pushing since, I would say, he made those soft comments to the media after, I think it was the Islanders game.
Yeah, the Islanders game.
Those buttons aren't working, at all.
He seemed like he seemed broken. Like last night, it was not like he's gonna like keel over and die, but just like, I'm out of ammo. Yeah. Every button I push now is incorrect. I don't know what to do.
I just think, and
you got to find new buttons, bud.
Yeah. Well, I said this on Chaos this morning. It's not even that like he's pushing the wrong buttons or pulling the wrong levers. I think
they're not connected.
No, I don't even think it's that. I think it's that he's pulled all the levers.
Yeah,
there ain't no more levers left to pull. He's done. Like he went with the kitchen sink approach to motivation, and for a while it worked. There's nothing else he can do. Like, he's out of ideas because, like, we talked about this. No one scratched a captain in a decade. Like, that was a kitchen sink approach to motivation. No one does that. It's insane.
There seems to be
Starting
a reason
the
why.
Russian goalie 4 days into his time here is insane. These were insane things he was doing, and he was trying every single motivational card he can think of. And I think part of the reason why he's not angry anymore is because, like, he said something last week when he was doing his media blitz, and he basically said, like, I don't want there to be any regrets. I don't think he has any regrets left, because I think the way he's looking at it is, I literally emptied out the fucking drawer. I did every single motivational tactic I can possibly do, that I can possibly think of, and I guess the guys are just spent because they ain't responding to shit.
Maybe.
But Kelly, I think you're asking, can John Tortorella learn something from this? I hope he can. I hope he has the ability this summer, if he's going to remain the head coach, to take a look at himself in the mirror and do a self-evaluation of what worked, what didn't, what maybe was going too far, what he could have done mid-season to make sure these guys had more energy at this stage. Mm-hmm. I hope he has the ability to do that kind of self-evaluation, because he's even admitted over this past week that it's on him. He needs to do a better job of getting these guys ready to play these games, and he clearly didn't do a good enough job of it. So, yeah, I hope he has the ability to do self-evaluation. I don't know. I don't know if he will or if he will do it adequately, but I hope he does, because everybody can be better as a result of this. Like, everyone,
you would hope.
Everyone needs to be better. Yeah. Everyone involved. John Tortorella not excluded. So I hope he has the ability to do some honest self-evaluation. Yeah.
All right, we have a ton of questions left. I want to do one more, and we're going to go out of order a bit here, but it's something that's been going around a bit, so I want to get to it today. From Gus the Groundhog, and it's been Groundhog's Day here. Yeah. It's just another Flyers season.
The Drysdale question.
I know he's young, probably rushed into the league, and in a tough situation battling injuries on a new team, but what should be our level of concern with Drysdale? How often do players who start off how he has turned into high-end pieces?
Do we have a comparable?
Man, it's tough. It's a lot like the at least it's not apples to apples, but the way, like, we talked about Carter Hart for so long, it's like, well, 22-year-old goalies don't have this many starts, you know?
Yeah.
And like, the front office has been outright telling us he was rushed into the NHL. We believe, like, they might still think he should be in the AHL, but it's like, well, that ship has sailed, and here we are. Man, I don't know. I think about Duncan Keith, who spent 2 full years in the AHL. Like, he eventually, he was a little older than you thought, but he came around. I don't know if he is a number one guy, but I still think there's a ton of potential there that we haven't unlocked, and this year's kind of a wash. But I don't want to just say this year doesn't matter. Like, it happened. And first of all, Anaheim willing to part with him. Now they're in an interesting situation. They have, like, the WHL QMJHL and OHL, like defenseman of the year from the last couple of years, all in their system.
They were dealing from a position
like
of strength.
It's very much a position of strength. And he is a guy who put up 39 points in this league not that long ago. The injuries are a concern. The adaptation to a new defensive system and that affecting his offensive output are concerning. But I'm not like out on him. No. I just might think he's maybe not a first pair defenseman anymore.
I'm willing to give him this year as a mulligan because I think, number one, I don't think he was ever healthy from the moment the Flyers got him.
That's
this year.
Absolutely true.
Then obviously he got hurt. Now, the fair point you can make in response to that is, well, that's a concern, is the injuries,
absolutely.
Which completely fair. But I'm willing to give him the summer, a full training camp under Bradshaw, and then the season, and hopefully, even if he starts out slow next season, see if he improves over the course of the year. My viewpoint in terms of the way that this coaching staff develops defensemen is I watched them turn Rasmus Ristolainen into a pretty good defenseman.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt after seeing them literally produce what I view as a fucking miracle.
Also because like the whole thing that everyone always said about Risto was that this was the same problem, that he was rushed into the NHL and as a result learned nothing but bad habits, which he just kept doing for 8 years in Buffalo. And that's why he was terrible. So at least we got Jamie Drysdale before all of the bad habits had years and years and years to set in. And like Charlie said, if Bradshaw can turn him into pretty good defenseman, like solid defenseman, one would assume that a guy with the tools like Drysdale can be turned into something good. And like this year, not only with the injuries, like the team hasn't been great since he's been here. Like they had moments, but
learning a new system, particularly in the defensive zone.
He's never really had like a fixed partner, and the partners have never been that great. Like there's just like a lot where I feel like it's kind of silly to look at what we saw from Jamie Drysdale this year and be like, well, that's what he is.
Yeah, I don't think this is what he is. I just, in my head, have lowered my expectations.
Really?
I think he's going to be good.
I feel like I still have no idea. Like, I feel like nothing that I saw this year makes me think that he can't be good, but I don't know. But there's nothing that I saw this year that makes me think, he's probably not going to be that good.
I'm not putting it on the same level as my view of Fedotov, where I'm just kind of throwing these games out because, whatever. I am legitimately concerned about the injury-prone factor. That does worry me. But I am in no way, shape, or form writing him off.
No, I'm not writing him. I think he's going to be good and he's going to be part of the future. If the thought was, all right, between Sanheim, York, and Drysdale, we're good, man. Now we're going to focus on center. No, bro, you still need 2 defensemen.
Well, yeah, probably.
Well, we'll see with Oliver Bonk. I think they obviously they need a one, a long-term one. Maybe Drysdale, if everything goes right, becomes that. Maybe Bonk becomes that. But if they have the chance this draft, if they draft, somewhere between 10 and 12, and one of those high-end defensemen slips out of the top 10 who has number one potential, because there's quite a few of them, I have no issue with them taking him.
All right, before we get out of here, I want to thank you all so much for hanging out. Thank you for listening. People always ask me. No, they don't. But I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, if you think the content that we produce here, not just on the Flyers show, but throughout the entire PHLY organization is pretty damn good, you're happy with what you're seeing, you're glad you had us with you through this season, the best way to show that support, the best way to thank us, it's to become a diehard. All you got to do is go to allphly.com, sign up to become a diehard. And there are so many benefits. First and foremost, you get a free shirt. Any one of our shirts for your choosing, boom, you get it. You get access to the members-only Discord, the PHLY Lounge, as some may call it. Charlie's in there constantly. If you just want to break his balls, he'll actually answer you. Yep. It's tremendous. You get all the premium written content from so many amazing beat writers, columnists here.
We're seeing more. We just announced today that Jim Salisbury, the legendary Phillies beat writer, is going to be writing multiple articles a month for us. That's a huge, huge add to our Phillies coverage. Super excited about that. We got Les Bowen. He's going to be doing some articles for us. And all of those articles, my understanding, by the outside contributors, the people who aren't quite full-time employees but are going to be regular contributors, That's all going to be behind the Die Hard paywall. So if you want to read them, if you want to read Jim Salisbury, you're going to have to be a diehard.
Not to mention every single word this guy writes.
That's right.
Exactly.
You probably want to read it. I mean, who doesn't want more Flyers content? It won't drive you insane, I promise. This is definitely what I looked like 8 years ago when we started this show. I haven't lost my mind. Anyway, that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, subscribe, Twitter, podcast, you know all that stuff. My name is Bill Matz for Charlie O'Connor and Kelly Hinkle. Have a great week, Philly.
We all silly like the mayor.